Yo, what's going
Yo,
on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Save the Date. Jay and I have just been rapping before we hopped on here. So we're primed and ready to speak to you guys honestly and most importantly with love. Before we get into our episodes at Save the Date Now on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, you can follow us there on the clips that we post and the episodes that we post. And of course, we're on Spotify and Apple. Man, guys, got
today's
a real
episode.
good today's episode is just nothing short of amazing because it really deals with a topic that's been controversial because we've seen superstars wrestle with this in public the last 36 to 48 months, and it's an issue that always comes up when we talk about dating, romance, and ultimately long-term commitment. Title of this episode is Self-Love as the Foundation of Romantic Love: Why Loving Yourself is Essential for Successful Dating. I
I
was
love
on
me some
LinkedIn the
me.
other day, and there's a news article that popped up on LinkedIn
hmm
of a woman who's been called ugly by users continues to take selfies because she says, even though I'm ugly, at the end of the day, I love myself.
Mm. hmm
Lizzo, when Lizzo was blazing the charts prior to her dramatic and wonderful weight loss.
She's looking very delicious right now.
Yeah,
Sorry, Linda.
shout out to Lizzo. And she was blazing the charts, and people would talk about her being overweight as being unhealthy and being quote unquote disgusting and fill in the blanks of whatever they made, what kind of jokes they said about her body. She would always lead with, I love myself
Mm.
and self love. And self love is controversial because ultimately people will qualify what it really means to be in love. They want to know that only the good people, quote unquote, are capable of self love. The Brad Pitts, the Angelina Jolies, the Denzel Washingtons.
You want to feel like those people
Well, I think people think that those are the people who can really talk adamantly
about self love.
about self
Do you
love.
think it's because of their level of success and what they've achieved so far?
Yes, level of success and the fact that they have community validation about their beauty,
Mm.
about their good looks, about their achievements. Marilyn Manson used to sing, the beautiful people, the beautiful people.
I used to love that song.
You used to love that song too. Still do, still a banger.
hmm
And only the beautiful people can talk adequately and comprehensively and honestly about self love. Everyone else, how can you say you love yourself? Look at yourself. Look at how you walk. Look at how you talk. Look at the gap in your teeth, the skin tags, the weird haircut, the funny nose, the toes that look point all kinds of ways, the shoulders that look lopsided. Look like an Igor out here talking about self love.
Yeah.
Yet people with the toes and the gap in their teeth and the slap, right? The weird shoulders all want to get married and fall in love, all want to successfully date.
hmm
So whether you're a Brad Pitt or an Igor or a hunchback from Notre Dame, you're gonna have to start with self-love.
Yeah, everybody does. I heard a therapist say that one time. Like, if you don't have self love, then you're not ready to date. I heard a therapist say that one time, which I thought was interesting because you and I always talk about wherever somebody's starting, everybody deserves love.
Yes.
But I think obviously when you think about people skills, dynamics that take place and occur when you're not by yourself with other
Mhm,
people,
mhm.
obviously sometimes it requires patience, it requires a level of communication and understanding that not everybody has in spades, especially again when you're talking about interacting with other people.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
But I feel like what that therapist essentially trying to say is that self-love really is the first step to, because if you can't love yourself, how can you
Yeah,
love someone
yeah.
else?
It's the first step in the project of love.
Yeah.
If you're going to engage in the project of love, the first required step is
mm,
self-love. You can't have anything else without self-love
yeah.
because ultimately from self-love do all of your genuine care, compassion, and connection for someone else. It springs forth from that. I have been someone who for years engaged in self-abuse. You know this because you've known me. We've been traveling almost 20 years together now. And I did it because I really never saw myself being the it guy. Who was the it guy? The guy at the time, 80s, 90s, with the Beamer, Mercedes Benz eventually, your gold chain, broads, the connections and the money. And because I wasn't that person, and because I wasn't getting kind of the buy-in about my looks or my body at the time, I was overweight or, not really in shape. I used all of that lack of looks, lack of body, lack of money, lack of everything to determine my worth.
Mm,
to determine if I truly was lovable. And consequently, went through very dismal low self esteem. Now, here's the thing, I was able to still find someone, get married. But ultimately, what we talk about here is not just acquiring the event. As
Right.
you would say, people treat marriage as an event, not a process.
Mhm.
They think more about marriage as the wedding, not the 50 or 60, 70 years together. So I was able to get the event of marriage, but when it came to the process of marriage, I created problems because I only had low self-esteem to tap into.
Mm.
And where it started to create problems is I was pulling down on my partner in ways that she was incapable of giving me.
That's what low self-esteem does, right?
It does. It
It
pulls
makes you
down on your
start
partner.
chasing validation and
Mhm.
ignoring red flag, or like you said, you start attaching your worth to someone else's approval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could still go ahead and have the event, and this is where we get confused. You could still go ahead and quote unquote achieve number one, but do you have the discipline to stay number one?
Mm.
Was it when they used to say in Silicon Valley, once you're lucky, twice you're good. But if we apply it here, yeah, you got the event, but can you keep it? And keeping it is not just saying, oh, it's there. I mean, produce and cultivate a healthy
Mm.
relationship.
Yeah.
And a healthy relationship will only come from a place of self love. Trust me, I know. It's easy to blame your partner for the toxicity in your relationship. We talked about this before. There are some relationships that are toxic, and then there's some relationships that have a toxic element to it. You have to distinguish which one you're in. But for relationships with a toxic element, it's easy to blame your partner for that toxic element or that toxic that when you go around the kind of circle of relationship and you hit those little, jagged bumps to blame someone else. But where are you to blame? And if you are struggling with self love, I would say you are to blame on some levels, or there is at least a blame you should be investigating. Not a blame to condemn yourself, but a blame to take responsibility and say, I'm going
Mhm.
to start to find ways to love myself.
Yeah, and show up better for me
So that I
before I
can then
start
show up.
demanding it
Yes,
for other.
yes.
Mm.
Because that's what you'll do. And that's for those who don't know. That's what happens with low self esteem, especially in a long term relationship. You want the partner to do so much so much validation that is quite frankly humanly impossible.
Say that again.
Validation that is humanly impossible to give. It's like trying to fill a hole in the desert one little grain of sand at a time.
Mm. Or even just counting the grains of sand. It's
Mhm.
literally impossible.
Yeah. And this is what this is what lack of self-love will do. This is how it starts to burn out the marriage. This is how it starts to burn out the relationship. And again, I've said this before, and I said this right before we hopped on this call with Jay. We tend to look at ego, people with big, huge, throbbing, I mean, world shattering, Guinness Book of Record shattering,
Raging egos.
raging egos as arrogant. The individuals who, won't even look at you unless you're making a certain amount, or won't even look at you unless you're in with a certain crowd. The people that we generally see as arrogant. But what we don't realize is that the individuals who have low self-esteem have just as big egos. See, the people who are arrogant are outwardly destructive. But the
Mhm.
people with low self-esteem, lack self-love, are inwardly destructive. So when someone's inwardly destructive, eventually it comes out, but a lot of the destructive natures happening inside before it starts to spill out. Whereas the person who's has a raging ego, who's arrogant, we see that from the beginning because they're just going to run it up on
Yeah,
anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. Ready, willing, and able.
yeah. Always got the gun cocked,
Yeah.
ready.
Whereas the low self-esteem person won't start off that way because it's internal work. It's internal destruction. But eventually it spills out and starts to hang on the individuals around them. And this will impact any relationship. Parents. I mean, you turn around and blame your parents for everything, and they didn't do this and they didn't do that, and why this and why that, and I could have had this and I could have had that. And for some people, that's very much true. They went through a lot of trauma and abuse in their childhood. But for some of us, we're not looking at the blessing of the love that we've received. And now, because we don't like who we are now going back to our childhood to look at our caretakers and say, you should have done better. You should have
Mm.
done. Then we turn around to our dating life and want the people we date to give us all the validation. And the moment they do, we're on to the next. And we become serial daters because we have not found or discovered our center for self love.
Yeah. I just want to jump in here and say
Please.
this. I think a lot of times people attach self-love to, or they associate it with stuff like aesthetics or, like we said, achievements initially.
Hmm. Yes.
But obviously, you know, self-confidence and what defines it is gonna be different from person to person. It's really a subjective
Mm,
thing. It has objective effects where, like, if you and I have self-love and we go into a situation, let's say like a job opportunity, and we're working together, we can both create something big because my confidence and your confidence come together. Obviously, we're not hampered by the insecurities of how big a job can get.
mhm,
You know,
mhm,
we're able to move forward in our power.
mhm, uh-huh, mhm,
And like, you know, people will associate our achievements with basically they'll say it's a reflection of our
mhm,
confidence. I think sometimes we need like people should really take advantage of how subjective self-love can be and how you can derive your own
mhm.
confidence and define it. Because like you talked about, the weird toes, the gap in the teeth,
Yeah, this slumping shoulders.
basically the unsightly thing, like that is really what makes all of us beautiful. The weird, the quirks, the picadillos you normally talk about, or the idiosyncrasies, whether regardless of what you draw your confidence from, it really is what you say. You know, if we want to use a verse in the Bible talks about as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Like that's where your confidence comes from. How do you see yourself? This self-love thing we're talking about. Is it, you know, does it for you, does it come from, well, let's take you for example.
Yeah.
'Cause I think
Go
some
ahead,
people
please.
might benefit from
Yeah.
listening to how you assess that. First, right there, where does self-love come from for you?
It comes from accepting who I am. And the genesis of that was a conversation me and you had in 2021. Now, the concept you explained to me in 2021, I had heard you explain it many years before, but where it really resonated for me was I was telling Jay about some work that I wanted to do on my body and some upgrades I wanted to make, some enhancements. It was just basic workout based stuff, face card stuff. And he interrupted me. He interrupted that thought and was like, yo, listen, at the end of the day, you could do all those things, but that's not your it factor. And for those who don't know, Jay's whole concept of the it factor is there is something about you, to quote Dr. King almost, that you can do that no one
No
else
one else can.
before
Yep.
you
Mhm.
and no one else after you will be able to do at the way you do it. So take singers, for example. Jay's a singer. He's a great singer. But there's a way that he sings that no one can sing before him. I don't care who you can name, and no one will be able to sing after him. There is something he can do as a singer. There's a certain joy, certain contentment, a certain satisfaction he can bring to people only with his voice and the way he sings that no one else can do it. And that goes for people who are plumbers, people who are stylists, people who are manicurists, cosmetology, you name the field, that's it. And it almost goes with the snowflake theory. Everything, when you look at snow, it all looks the same. But when you look at snow under the microscope, every snowflake is unique. We all have fingerprints, but every fingerprint is unique. There is something to you. So we all share something useful, like fingerprints, but they're all unique because they're unique to your body
Mhm.
composition, your body constitution. And what he was emphasizing for me is that my it factor would not be my looks. Now that doesn't mean don't work on yourself and don't get yourself to peak condition, peak presentation, whatever that means for you. But for me, it was about recognizing you could do all that, but that will never be the thing that attracts people to you. What attracts people to you is your soul.
Yeah.
The fact that you're able to speak into people's lives and be inspirational, generate compassion, empathy, kindness, self reflection, and bring almost a community spirit into a person's life that they actually may be lacking. Essentially, what I am is a healer. That is my highest role. That is my biggest role I can play. And the biggest role I can play in my friendships, even at work, even though I'm not technically a quote unquote healer, I do things through that lens. Working with certain people, working with certain companies, working with certain networks, that's who I am. So I always will do things from a healer's perspective. Some people are warriors. And they'll always do things through a warrior perspective. Some
Mhm.
people are royalty and they'll always do things through a royalty perspective. I know people who are very powerful who don't have an eighth of the wealth of Elon Musk, but they move like Elon Musk. They have a hard time taking no. They don't sit well. And certain people are all about power. Now, I'm not saying that's negative. Everything has a positive and negative. Everything is a pro and a con. It's up to you how you operationalize your gift. Are you going to be in the dark side or the light side just to keep it in that simple duality framework? But for me, what brought that is that you gave me that conversation. I actually thought about it. It wasn't an easy thing because there's ways that I want to be in the world that I want people to appreciate. But you were telling me there's a way in the world that people already appreciate that if you just shine a light on that, it will start to bring together for you opportunities and frankly the peace that you're looking for. And when I thought about it and I started accepting it, the more that I've accepted it and the more I've cultivated and the more I've sown into it, the more that I've gotten out of it. And the more that I've gotten out of it is definitely people confirming that I'm a healer. So that's confirmation, but also opportunities to actually create a life for myself, livelihood, money, money, people, that would not have happened had I not dealt with accepting my it factor, that I was never going to be the person that I had constructed myself to be. Now, that doesn't mean you don't work on yourself and there aren't things that you can't work on or enhance, but it's about keeping the enhancements where they need to be, recognizing the it factor supersedes all that. Or that they can be in conversation with each other. But the moment you try to pull your it factor down and your enhancements above that, you just won't see the same kind of success.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because it sounds like you're saying coming into the knowledge of your purpose as a healer is part of your self-love process.
Absolutely.
So do you think that maybe that's the reason why self-love seems to be lacking, is a lot of people don't know what their purpose is in life?
Yeah, I think so. That may be one path, one issue,
Hmm.
for sure. The more that I accepted that, and then I had experiences that confirmed it. Who does your family call on to be the caretaker? Who does your family call on to help resolve things in a peaceful, resolute, and honest way?
Mm, yeah. When you
That's my
started
role.
doing the analysis, like, oh, that's they call on me
Yeah,
for that. Like
yeah,
this,
call on me for that.
they're
So
affirming these things
yeah,
in me. Yeah.
yeah, and recognizing that that's always who I'm going to be. Now I could flip out like anyone flips out. I can get angry. Me and you were talking about this before we hopped on the podcast. You know, dealing with overcoming anxieties and anxiety behavior. You inherit your anxiety system from your parents. So there's things that I saw that I inherited that, I just have now the responsibility of addressing and dealing with if I want to become a more complete and loving healer. But I could definitely be a motherfucking healer. I mean, listen, um, I could be what I mean by that is I could be a healer that abuses his healing
Of
properties.
course.
I mean, you've talked about that. I could be running up numbers on women and, romancing the stone and making
Rubbing
sure
all of
that
these lamps, getting these
yeah,
greenies
exactly.
popping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could be out here just saying what I need to say to heal and be restorative and
Yeah.
restore me them in the panties. And I could be doing that.
Right.
Like I said, it's up to you what you do with your gifts, how you operationalize your gifts. Nuclear energy can be a great thing. It can power homes or
Yeah. Destroy country. Right.
eradicate lives. It's up to
Hmm.
you how you package it. I'm just recognizing the moment that I had to say I'm a healer, what I'm dealing with, and the kind of person that I want to be. For me, being ethical is a very important piece of who I am. Treating people right. We talk on this podcast a lot about dignity. Dignity matters to me.
Yeah.
I'm really seeking out dignity. And that comes with patience. That comes with a lot of qualities and traits that I've learned to just appreciate and love in myself. And while I still work out every day, while I still get diesel and do all the things that I love to do, the enhancements, they're in conversation with
Mm.
my healer it factor. They will never go above them because that's not who I am. And sometimes you'll be deceived. You'll start doing really well when you put your enhancements above. You're all right. This is what I'm supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? You got the people who are heavy into finance because they were chasing a buck, chasing a dollar, economic steering, right? I'm finance, should have been a social worker. I'm finance, should have been and you in the you in the trading pit trying to help so and so who has an addiction when you're supposed to be looking at the numbers, or you're doing that and then you're becoming unnecessarily callous and angry and coarse and fuck off because you got to compete more than the next man because you're in a place you ain't supposed to be. Now,
Yeah.
can all that be used eventually? Absolutely. You end up becoming a dude who's a social worker. You get your license, and you're the person who works specifically with people in Wall Street and finance to help them get over their stuff.
Yeah. Because there
So it
are
all
people
works
that
out.
can the second act.
Yeah, yeah. So it all works out. I'm just saying sometimes though, some of us are asking why we're in the midst of the first act, why it's not working out, because it may be time to leave the first act and go to the second act, but you're still staying there
Yeah. That
trying
first
to make
act
the
can be
first act work.
cushy. It can be nice and comfortable there.
Yeah.
It's gotten you a, couple of 100K. We get it.
Yeah. Who want to give that up? I know I don't. To go broke paying for a social work degree, to go
Hmm.
broke chasing after now, you got to do your X amount of hours to get your license.
Yeah.
To go broke in front of your friends who are like, what are you doing? Just be miserable like the rest of us and just get the money and then keel over and die like I'm going to.
That
Mind you, that
happened to me.
person's, can't be trusted with around your girl or anyone's woman. People have that, right? Because they have addictions now to deal with that pain they have. So they reach out for addictions.
I went through that, like leaving finance to get into PR. I mean, it was a forced transition, but I realized that I needed to be around in an industry that's more centered around being a people person.
Hmm.
I was aging a lot faster when I was in finance, making good money, but it was just like, yo, you really have no life, or your
Hmm.
life is
Hmm.
work.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you want to be social in that, it's like
What are
you,
you doing?
you
What are
gotta
you talking to me for?
well, I was gonna
Yeah.
say you gotta be doing what people in that industry are doing. You gotta be
Hmm.
coked up, or you gotta be at
Yeah.
strip clubs, and you know what I mean? Sometimes, and you don't want to do that. That's not who
Yeah.
you are. That's not what tickles your fancy. That's not what you do on a regular. So it's like, damn, I really have to compromise just my regular life and sanity, just like you was talking about, just to chase and make a buck.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, yo, this ain't for me.
Hmm.
When I got into PR, I was like, taking a pay cut was was
Hmm.
difficult, but I realized and I felt so much more successful and achieved as a comms expert than I did in finance. Obviously, finance is a more technical job. Comms and PR require more people skills. I mean, obviously, there's some technical skills you need to have, but it's all around maintaining relationships and having conversations. And I felt like even though I'm much more quiet and reserved, I found out that I'm a lot better at being engaging and talking to people than just being locked away, crunching numbers and making the company money.
Yeah. And you're wildly successful at being a communications expert too. And you're leaving that part out. You are great at it. So yeah, me and you talked about this. Palm trees you see in certain areas of the world. You see them in Florida, California, the Mideast. I've seen a palm tree in New York, but it's in a potted plant.
Yeah, controlled
It's like in a
environment.
pot. And so they're making it work, but look at the work they have to put into making it work.
Right. When in its natural habitat,
It's just as beautiful. When you think palm trees, you always think of just
I think of sun,
calm, relaxation,
not
sun.
concrete.
Yeah, you think of, that classic scene of going down Beverly Hills Road. They are driving, the palm trees are there, whether you're looking at Beverly Hills Cop or any of these great movies of the last 45 years.
Hmm.
Think of Dubai. Dubai is just Florida, certain
Yeah.
parts of Florida that are just, gorgeous. And when you look at that potted palm tree, you're like, all right, I mean, here in New York,
It looks
I'm
out of
just going to
place
get my,
almost.
my
It's
DoorDash
nice,
delivery.
but it
Thanks.
looks out of place.
Yeah. And it's not bringing you or evoking the same type of imagery, even though the palm tree is there, because it's not in its natural environment. Same thing goes for us.
Yeah.
And I believe that's just a key for self-love is identifying your purpose, finding what you are called to do, or finding your it factor and sticking in that. Some people's it factor is their looks. Some
Right.
people it's their body. Some people it's their hair. Some people it's how they do something. You just got to discover that. And I think that's a key. I know that's going to be one key for somebody to develop self-love, which then becomes a strong departure point for romantic love.
Yeah. I think you started this episode off perfectly talking about acceptance. Like I think the more I think about it, that step specifically in the process of self-love, achieving, acquiring it, establishing it with yourself, I think that acceptance is so big.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because it really will teach you and show you how to manage and navigate other people's flaws. Like when
Yeah.
you're practiced doing it with yourself, because I'll talk about this in another episode. We let ourselves down all the time. We lie to ourselves all the time, but we don't punish ourselves like we do other people when they let us down, when they
Hmm.
lie to
Hmm.
us. And so, but I think with the self-love and acceptance, when you start doing that, it really can say can, not will, but it can help you see the humanity in other people. You see yourself in other people. Like you realize people are a mirror and they're just showing you how humans are. So if you see something in someone that you don't like, self-love should teach you, hey man, not everybody's perfect. There's things about you that your partner doesn't like, that your coworker, that your sibling, your parents don't like, your family members don't like, your friends don't like. So like learn how to deal with it.
I told you there's a book I read is about how to deal with annoying people, and I didn't even read the book. The first page, the first line on the first page of the book is the first thing understanding how to deal with annoying people The first thing in understanding how to deal with annoying personalities is that you have an annoying personality.
Mm-hmm.
And the point of the book, the point of that opening line was to demonstrate that there is something you do or some things you do that annoy people. You're not doing them to be annoying. It's just
Right.
who you are.
Mm.
I can name so many things that even with like, living in your house with your parents that your parents may do. That's just like, yo, why do you even do this? Like, it's just such a waste. I mean, you get to the point where you're like, I don't even know how you got married. How does someone even like get to a point where they just see that annoying trait and they're just like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm still
Push
married.
the
No
cat,
problem.
push the cat,
Let's jump
push the
this
chips
broom.
into the
Let's get
middle.
this going.
Yeah, like, huh? Just like they do with me. But that's the beauty of the human experience. And the beauty comes in when you're able to look past that to who that person is, to what you're saying, as opposed to this particular dissecting into this person. Because me and you've talked about that even with like looks, because looks is, again, we opened up with self-love. And if you ugly, why are you even taking selfies? You should be, cracking mirrors, Dracula. Well, mirror, guys, Dracula don't crack mirrors. They don't even show up. But the problem is, once you drill yourself down to, you compartmentalize yourself, you drill yourself down to one part of who you are, someone's always going to beat you out. You can have a
Mm-hmm.
great face card, and I'm sure we could run 1,000 other face cards. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, yours is great, and you're a million, but I got 200 million face cards right here.
Right.
$200 million worth face cards. Your body could be all that. Someone else's body is better than yours.
Yeah.
You could be great in bed, and there's someone who's going to be just better than you. Now, you may be elite, but once you start getting into the 1% of the 1%, you may be at the bottom of and it don't feel good. It may be 5 people in front of you, but you're still number 6.
Right. And you was happy to be number 1 over here. But like you said, now you're in this 1 percentile where everybody's skilled.
Yeah.
Everybody's elite over here.
But once you take who you are and elite in each field and you put it together into this unique composition, can't no one do what you do.
Yeah.
Can't no one be who you are.
Talk about looks. And I think I might have mentioned this before, but you look at my 600-pound life. All of the women who are on these, they all got a man. They are not single.
That's what I'm.
None of them
what my
single.
homegirl was saying. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think people get into the looks thing, they get into the beauty thing because we're living in a very beauty-driven media society, especially where you're selling magazines and other content. So of course, makeup, haircuts, beard trimmers, you got to get there. And so people got to sell a product to you, especially now in the age where, as my boy Wale Kenji says, content is no longer king, content is highway. It is literally the highway of commerce.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have content, then you're on the back roads of commerce. You need to have content in order to transact and build trust and make money and build profitable companies. But with all that said, I get it. But when I look at when the rubber meets the road out in the streets, where people who don't look like someone that would be on People's 50 Sexiest People magazine or the cover of another magazine about big butts or nice bodies, fit or anything like that, Men's Health, they got relationships, like you said.
Yeah. Happy ones. Long-term joints.
People who are sitting with them through their 600.
Helping them lose that weight.
And I'm like, how do y'all be fucking?
Hey, man, they make it work.
They make it work.
They make it work. Yeah.
Just like I said, annoying personality over here, they make it work.
They make it work. Yeah.
And somebody will make it work with you. And just like you should make it work with them.
Man.
Because you're absolutely right. They're not checking those boxes.
This is good. This is good, bro. Because I feel like what you're surfacing is how inflated a lot of our egos have gotten in this dating game.
Yeah,
like,
I'm
really,
average,
you're. I mean, we hear it from certain creators that talk about inflated egos and opinions and things like that, and it's like, that's where you draw the line. Like, you're gonna say you have all of these standards that you don't really live up to, but you're gonna say I can't date a man who don't make this, and you don't make that, or I would never date a woman who's a single mom who's got kids, but you got kids from different baby. Like, what are we talking about? Our egos are just what?
Yeah. People are really on some bizarre
world.
Yeah, like notions of self and community.
Yeah.
The reality is, I could be all that, but sometimes I tell myself I'm all that for a 44-year-old. Or 45 going to 45.
Gotta contextualize it.
Yeah, you look good for a 45-year-old.
Yeah.
And guess what? Half the women you're looking at is going from 25 to 35. So where does that leave your black ass?
How about that?
Where does that leave your black ass? You know where that leaves you? That's a cool Model T car from the 1919. Right. I ain't gonna drive that shit around, but it's definitely a nice
collector's
item. In the garage.
It looks nice in the glass.
Oh, you got a Model T? Oh, yo,
really
son.
Nice.
Man, I remember reading about Model Ts in school, and I did my own little car mechanic analysis. but ain't one in the Model T on Rodeo Drive like,
I can't Hellcat no Model T. I'm sorry.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, ain't one doing that. No matter how good the Model T look.
Right.
You may get on a little bit on the highway and say, oh, this is a different experience. I can't believe this is what made my great-great-grandpappy. It's time to turn it back around now. Get back in the garage. I want no one to damage the Model T. It's shaky. Can't do what the Dodge Charger do.
Yeah, no. Just can't.
So I think sometimes people just realize like, yo, you're a Model T and don't want to deal with that fact about what that may just get you in the real world. And it's okay to say that. Now, it's also okay to say, I'm beautiful, I'm gorgeous. Absolutely. But it's also contextualizing about the palm trees. Palm trees, beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous plant. And think about all of the feelings and images a palm tree evokes when you close your eyes. Then imagine it sitting in some lobby in New York City with a bunch of marble and a bunch of glass, equally beautiful items, equally beautiful elements of any kind of built environment, marble, glass, beautiful. But you see a palm tree there and you're like, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, what is that doing here?
Exactly, right? Exactly, right?
A palm tree?
I was okay with the marble and glass. I mean, I guess. I don't know what you were trying to like.
At 60 Center Street? I got at the courthouse? Like, what? What is the palm tree doing here?
Exactly. I don't know what that interior designer was thinking. So this idea of you being in your space, you being in your context, you thriving where you are supposed to be. Really nothing like that.
Yeah.
And that's where your beauty ultimately can be accentuated and connected. If you just start just thinking you can run it up on anybody because I'm all that and you can just say it, the things you see on the internet, people going crazy on each other, talking to each other crazy. And some of us, if we were on the streets of Miami, they'd run 5 of us easy. I got a bald-headed black dude tomorrow that'll blow your...
Right, exactly.
And you out here talking reckless.
Like you the only bald black dude that women could ever... Okay. Dexter St. Jock come right on the scene.
Yeah, exactly. And take your joint.
Mr. Steal Your Girl, and you still be black and bald, but by yourself. Black, bald, and by yourself.
Yeah. Black, bald, and by yourself. And I think that's
Life will humble you. Life will humble you.
Yes, and that's the thing. Yes, call yourself gorgeous. Yes, call yourself beautiful. Yes, say you're all that in a bag of chips, but also respect the context in which you can truly and duly be appreciated.
Let's rewind, selector.
Yeah, no, I have to say that. Recognize the context in which you truly and duly can be appreciated. Because we all used to make fun of the old man in the club with their chest hair out and the gold chain. Again, it's 1975 and it's 1995. In 1975, he was hitting. In 95...
I mean, listen, there's a 70s theme party right now where he could go and cook and probably clean up.
But that's not where he wants to go. He wants to go... He's a Model T and he wants to be drag racing at night.
With the Dodge Supras or the Nissan Supras or Toyota or whatever, whoever makes that. Yeah. I feel you.
You want to be on the Autobahn with the Porsches.
Like, bruh.
And that's all I'm saying is like, you got to keep a perspective when it comes to self-love. Yes, love yourself and accept yourself. But also just, again, to bring the other picture back into it, just so make sure we're clear, being clear what we're saying, is recognize your context. Recognize the context in which you thrive. Some of us are in relationships or potentially relationships that are meant for us. But sometimes we're running it up on our spouse or our potential partner because I could do better. I can run these numbers up somewhere else. Maybe you could, but it won't have any peace with it. Then where will you be? Pulling out your hair, crying in your pillow. Motherfucker trying to act like you ain't crying. You cried last night. I would have cried. Hearing some of the things y'all may go through because you're with a person who's raising hell in your life because you could do better. And you did do better on the physical. You did do better with the money, or you did do better with the prestige, and you did do better on the status points that mattered to you, never considering what it's like to be a palm tree among the glass and the marble of New York City, when you could have just been in the palm trees in the Mideast or in Florida, California, that truly evoke the beauty of the moment in the season and the place.
Yeah. Guys, please do not confuse self-love and ego. Yeah. That can get you tripped up.
Seriously. And that's some of the impediments we have to meeting people successfully. Getting too high on our own supply.
Smelling ourselves.
Yo, I tell you right now, I keep telling people I've been in a midlife evaluation and not a midlife crisis. And 2 things that have come out of that, a lot of things come out, but the 2 things I've mentioned to you offline, I'll say them here. If I've said them before, you're going to have to listen to it again. Number 1, shut the F up. A lot of us are spending more time talking and not enough time listening. Number one, not listening to ourselves. I would say, from my spiritual point of view, not listening to God, not listening to ourselves, and not listening to others. You're talking too much. And when you talk a lot, you're saying things that ultimately don't do you or anyone else justice. Shut the F up. Just be quiet. You yakety yakking like you're in the streets like you're 12, like your man Nas said in the second childhood verse. For what? Just stop talking. Just listen. That's number one. Then talk. I would say part two, know your place. And see, this is a comment that's usually been reserved for women. We'll tell women historically, know your place. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be present in these meetings. You shouldn't be speaking up. But here's a little tidbit for everybody: man, woman, she, they, know your place.
Mm.
This goes back to the whole palm tree thing. Some of us don't know our place, and we think that we're so busy telling other people to tell them where to know their place, we don't know our own place. Which goes back to the first point. You're talking too much. You're talking too much. And because you're talking too much, you're not listening. You're not listening to God. You're not listening to yourself. You're not listening to your environment. You're not listening to your community that knows you best and can point out your weirdness or the issues that may be getting you in your way. And then you don't know your place. And then you're in places you ain't supposed to be, not thriving, talking about you blaming it on this one and blaming it on that one. And then blaming it on, this big societal issue. Oh, it's gender. Oh, it's the race. Oh, it's women. Oh, it's men. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. It's the president. It's this political party. And the political parties be political partying, and the race be racing, and the gender be gendering. I'm not saying those aren't big macro issues that need to be addressed. What I'm saying is some of us will use that as a scapegoat instead of, right, to avoid putting the blame where it needs to be, on ourselves.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have a problem with self-blame. That's an issue.
You're not shutting the F up, and you're doing this all the time, talking. For those who are listening and can't see what I'm doing the talking sound with my hand. You're not listening where you should be listening to whom you should be listening to people. And then you find your place. You're a fish trying to climb a tree. You're a chimpanzee trying to swim. And then getting
Out of order.
frustrated at the results.
Out of place.
You're out of place. You're out of context.
Which, to your point, you got to know your place. And you do that by being
Listen.
quiet and listening more.
Know your place. Know your place. Stop telling people to know their place and know your place.
Well, that's the other thing. Is like it's easier to point fingers and look in the mirror most of the times, it seems like. But I think that is a great point, is to, before you point the finger, you have to look in the mirror first. You got to see, as the Bible says, you got to see the plank in your eye before you try to see the speck in someone. Remove the plank from your eye so you can properly see the speck or the plank or whatever in someone else's. Yeah. But that starts with, it's almost like the theory of, how on the plane they say you have to make sure that your oxygen mask is on and stable first before you try to help somebody else. It's the same kind of logic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe the more we do that, the more we'll be in a better position to achieve the things we want to achieve, but help the people that we're called to help.
And have these relationships, these connections with those we are trying to. In a
the romantic
way.
outcomes we actually want.
In a very healthy way, in a positive way, without making it overly transactional or, I like that.
On that note, we went over, but it was necessary. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself.
This one called for it. For some extra innings.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, thank you for listening. Save the Date. Check us on Save the Date Now, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This has been Save the Date. I'm Heath.
I'm Jamie, y'all. Peace.
Until next time, take care.